Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are we all doing today? Um, let's quickly confirm we're all on the same page here. So if you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly, kindly type in hi in the comment section so that we can get this started. Okay, I get some. Oh, kindly confirm you can hear me clearly. All right, what do we have here in the comment section? Okay, Carrie, good morning to you. Thank you very much. An echo? Uh-oh. I'm not sure that is from my end here. Oh, I see. I see. All right. Thank you very much for that confirmation, Carrie. And so who else do we have here? We have Zyko235. Good morning to you. Justin, good morning. Isal, good morning to you. Okay, thank you, 322A. No echo. Thank you for that confirmation as well. All right, I want to take this as a confirmation that we are good to go this morning. So, welcome to yet another promising session on the Extra and Speed Life app. My name is Sheriff Jaramola, and I will be your host, where we shall be embarking on a trading journey in the next 1 hour, evaluating the financial market using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities lining up for us today. Well, it's our culture as usual to first of all do a review of all the pairs we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week before we make a decision for today. So we are going to be reviewing all the pairs we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week. We are going to be looking at how well they are doing. And we're also going to be making a decision on how to lock our profits if there is any profitable trade running. And if there are none, what is going to be our next line of action? So these are the things we are going to be looking forward to during this live session. So I will advise you to stay tuned in so that you don't miss out on any of these ideas that I will be dishing out during the course of the session. So with that being said, let's dive into the charts and let's see what is really going on in the market right now. But before we go into the details on the chart, we want to be looking at the economic calendar to see what are the major macroeconomic events that we shall be looking forward to today, being Wednesday. And when we scale into the economic calendar, obviously, we really don't have any major event that we can be looking forward to for all the pairs we have been monitoring since the beginning of this week. So we are going to be skipping the this area and moving in right into the charts and using our technical skills to identify trading opportunities that we could actually take advantage of during this during the New York session today. So with that being said, let's dive into the chart. And as usual, the first commodity we are going to be looking at this morning is the US oil. And on the US oil, you will remember vividly that we have been on a bullish momentum since the beginning of this week. And in matter of fact, we were lucky enough to catch that move when it finally happened during the first day of this week. That was on Monday, where we started seeing buy pressure right above the $75 level here. And that was a sign that we might be having a bullish momentum for the week. Then, in addition to that structure, was this bullish gap we noticed at the beginning of the week. So, prior to the opening session, so we saw a huge gap between the $74.50 level and the $75 area, which was also a clue that the market is likely tending towards bullish for this week. So right during the live session yesterday, we were around this area during the live session yesterday. Okay, we were around the $76 level here. And you would agree that during the last 24 hours, price has been doing a huge consolidation phase. And there was a little bit of volatility in this market, which would try to shake out a lot of people. personally, I had to leave out of this, get out of this trade as soon as I started seeing this scenario around this area. So I don't know how you actually did that. But one thing we said yesterday is that we are going to be looking out for buying opportunity right above the $76 level. And a matter of fact, this is exactly what has happened. Though I didn't take advantage of this one right here um, during the New York, later in the New York session yesterday, because of the volatility I saw here. So I had to leave the market and wait out for new structures in the form of probably buying pressure right above the $76 level in order to join another momentum of bullish move. So this is what we now saw here. We saw multiple rejection of this area, and we saw this engulfing candle, which gave us a clue of our participants in this market are heading towards, and we were able to take advantage of this move as price broke out of the $76.40 level. So if you are taking the move right below above the $76 area, you will currently be running with over 100 pips in profit right now. And if you are actually taking it right above the $76.40 level here, you will currently be running with, let's see how many pips that is. That's about hold on a second. You will be running with about 60 pips in profit right now. So that is not bad anyways. So either ways, we are in profit on the US oil. So the next thing we want to be doing is to move our stop loss accordingly. And at this particular point in time, price has not really moved that much from our entry point. So we shall be moving our stop loss to break even, so that if any pullback happens, if price moves against us, we are not going to be losing at all on this trade. So I will be advising us to move our stop loss to our entry point. So for those who are taking advantage of this move right around the $76 level here, during the early hours of today, I will be suggesting you move your stop loss to the $76.40 area. But if you are taking it above the $76.40 level, just move your stop loss to break even, and let's wait out to see how price action will play out in the next 24 hours. Now, for those who had missed out on both of these opportunities here, what is our expectation for today? Is the market going to present us with another opportunity? Well, before we go into the details of what we are going to be planning to do today, I would like to take an holistic view of what is really going on in this market. And in order to do this, we want to be scaling up to the daily time frame. Let's see if the structure we have on the daily time frame still lines up with the bullish expectation that we just took advantage of on our lower time frame. So scaling up into the daily time frame, well, if we look at this vividly from an holistic point, we can see that price has been on a long-term bullish momentum. In fact, in the last 2 years, we have been witnessing higher highs and higher lows. And as a result of this, we were able to connect the series of higher lows here to give us that resultant bullish trend line. However, if we zoom into the current structure that is between the month of September and the present moment, which we would observe that price action has been caught within a consolidation phase between the $93.50 level, which is the resistance point of this channel here, and the $76, $78 area, which is going to be the support level of this channel. And during the first week of this month, we finally witnessed the breakdown of that demand zone, giving us a signal that sellers might likely come in from this area, and this giving us a technical standpoint that a breakdown retest of structure could likely incite another wave to the downside. Well, it's not all the time price action moves this way, so we want to be very, very cautious and really understand what the market structure is telling us here in order to make a decision. Now, if we look at what happened around the $85 level, a level which also shares a confluence with that bullish trend line we identified earlier, you saw our price broke down that structure mid-month of November. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakdown of a structure like this, we expect that one point in time price is likely going to come back to a retest of either of the structure to incite another wave of bearish momentum. And a matter of fact, in the last 2 weeks, we have been witnessing bullish momentum since price tested the $70 level here. So we have been witnessing the bullish momentum here, which might likely transpose into a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure, breaking out of the neckline area to do a retracement back into that structure that was broken mid-month of November. So these are the things we are going to be looking at today. So at this, with the look of things right now, since the beginning of the week, we have been witnessing bullish momentum. So we can see we have been witnessing bullish candle here since the beginning of this week. So what we are going to be looking at right now is to see how price action is going to be relating to the $77.50 level. And why am I going to be looking at the $77.50 level? Well, look at this right here. So we have the $77.50 level around this area. And following this impulsive move that broke down this bullish trend line, we might be having a situation where price evolves into a double bottom structure. And you know that whenever we have a double bottom structure like this, we want to be identifying the neckline of that structure. And that is what we are going to be using as a yardstick for trading activities. And to confirm that this is a confirmed reversal pattern, we want to be seeing a breakout of the neckline followed by buying pressure above the structure to be more comfortable in our buy position. So we are going to be looking at how price action is going to be relating to the $77.50 level during the New York session today. So for those who had missed out on the buy position we took advantage of this morning and yesterday, well, let's see if the market will present us with another opportunity in the form of a breakout with buy pressure around the $77.50 level to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. Now, and in addition to this, if we zoom to as far back as the month of September, you will see how the $77.50 level has also been a strong buying niche for participants in this market. Look at what happened here. During the later part of the month of September, we saw buy pressure coming from that level. The same thing also happened here during the mid-month of November. We saw buy pressure around this area. So we are going to be looking out for a breakout retest buy pressure on our lower time frame right above the $77.50 level to give us a further confirmation to join the trend continuation to the upside. So with this information we have here on the daily time frame, we want to be scaling back down to the lower time frame, that is the 1 hour time frame, where we want to be making our decision for today. So right now we are back at the 1 hour time frame, and remember the structure we identified on the daily time frame, which is the $77.50 level. So for the sake of clarity, I will just adjust the $78 area back into the $77.50 area, where we shall be looking forward to see how price action will relate to that structure. So for the sake of clarity, we'll have to relabel this to $77.50, place it at the top right hand side of my screen. And remember, we have moved our stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit here. So let's see how price action is going to relate to the $77.50 level. And if we look into the past here and see how participants in this market has been respecting that $77.50 level here, you can see what has been happening here since the month of November. We saw how that level has been holding by pressure. We saw the ETF, though we had a little breakdown here. Price climbed above again. We saw another buy pressure here before we finally saw the breakdown of the structure during the first week of this month. And then we've been seeing selling pressure below that level. So we want to wait and see how price action is going to be relating to the $77.50 level here in order to make a decision for today. So for those who are taking advantage of this move, move your stop loss accordingly, and let's wait out for price action to get into the $77.50 level. And if it gets there and we start seeing selling pressure below that structure, well, we might be getting ready to join another wave of bearish momentum. As you can see here, that level has a strong niche for sellers in this market. We saw what happened here as well since the beginning of this month. So we want to be mindful of how price action relates to that structure. So if we start seeing selling pressure, reversal patterns on our lower time frame, we want to be getting ready to join that decline to the downside. But one thing I want to say here is if price gets into that structure, first of all, it tests that structure, move your stop loss to somewhere around the $76.80 level, lock in some profit, and let's see how price action relates to that structure. However, if we have a breakout of that level That is, we have a significant breakout where we have a candle closing above that structure, then we might be looking out for buy pressure right above that level to give us a confirmation to add more position to our existing trade, hereby extending our TP target a little further into somewhere between the $81 level and the $84 area. Now, how did we get to identifying this zone as our TP target? I think I shared this with you on the 4 hours time frame at the beginning of this week, where we identified this descending channel here on our 4 hours time frame, remember? And we took into consideration this impulsive move that started from the $70.50 level last week, which we actually took advantage of, and we extended that TP target into, we extended that impulse leg into the future using our Fibonacci extension tool, and we were able to aim at an area between the 127.2 and the 161 area. So we have somewhere around here, 127, that's around the $80 mark, to this level here. And the reason why I actually extended that zone is simply because of the $85 level here, which has been a major niche for both selling and buying niche at one particular point in time. Look at how this level hold buy pressure in the month of October. We saw buy pressure here before it was broken to the downside mid-month of November, and we have been witnessing selling pressure around this area. So if we have the breakout of the $77.50 level, we want to be extending our TP into the zone area where we want to be seeing our participants in this market will be relating to the structure. So if we start seeing reversal patterns around that area followed by selling pressure on our lower time frame, then we want to be thinking of joining a decline from that level. However, if price breaks out of that structure and then we start seeing buy pressure above that level, then we will be thinking of adding more position to our existing trade here on the US oil. So these are my views here on the US oil. So I hope that we'll be on standby to take advantage of this move when it finally happens. So for those who had missed out on this opportunity, we took advantage of both yesterday and this morning. Well, just keep your patience, hold on, and let's wait out to see how price will relate to the $77.50 level in order to make a decision of either buying or selling the USL for today. And for those who are already in this trade, you want to be moving your stop loss accordingly, lock in some profit so that you can protect your position against any sudden pullback that might likely happen if we have a retest of the $77.50 level. So that is my view here on the US oil. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop your inquiries right in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the chat and see if there are any questions before I move on to the next pair. What do we have here in the comment section? So we have all right, 322, thank you. Bill Chuck, good morning. Kario Karim, good morning. 71515, good morning. 901, all right. Okay, 7901 wants us to trade the silver. Well, I'm not sure if we will be able to squeeze that in, but if I was able to quickly run through all the pairs we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week, I will definitely run through that pair and see what it's looking like and what our expectation can be like during the New York session today. Okay, 7901. Okay, Innocent Babe is asking what will be the TP target if we buy US oil above the $77.50 level. Well, like I said earlier, we have a buy with TP target zone right within the $79.50 level and the $83 level, $84 area. Remember, I showed you this on the 4 hours time frame. Let's quickly run through that one more time. So we are right back on the 4 hours time frame here where we identified the descending channel, and we we already have a breakout of the resistant level of that descending channel to give us a signal that bullish momentum is coming in right now. So if you had missed out on this opportunity here, you want to be waiting out for price to break out of the $77.50 level, a level which has been holding selling niche at one particular point in time. Then we look out for buy pressure above the structure. We want to be having our TP target between the $79.50 level here and the $84 area, an area which has been holding selling niche in this market for quite some time now. At least in the last 1 month, we have been witnessing selling pressure from that area. So we want to see how participants in this market will be relating to that structure in order to make an informed decision at that particular point in time. So if we start seeing selling pressure around this area like a double top structure, we want to be joining the decline to the downside. And if we have a breakout, then we want to be looking out for buying opportunities to join the rally to the upside. So these are my views here. So Innocent Babe, I hope I made myself clear there. All right. Good morning to you, Innocent Babe. I understand. Trust you're doing well. All right, in the absence of no other questions, let's move on to the next option. Glad to hear you're doing well, Innocent Babe. So the next option we are going to be looking at this morning is the US tech, and let's quickly run through what our expectation was as during the live session yesterday. And where were we during the live session yesterday? Okay, so we were around the $11,050 level. Let me zoom this out a little bit so that we can see things more clearly here. So on the US tech here yesterday, we were around the okay. So on the US tech yesterday, we were around the $11,050 area here, where price was caught within a huge consolidation phase there. And one thing I stated there was that to make things a little bit easier for us to trade the US tech yesterday was to use the $11,050 level as a yardstick for trading activities. And in addition to the $11,050 area is this bearish trend line we were able to identify after connecting the series of lower highs rather. So we have the 11,050 and the bearish trend line here as a yardstick for trading activities. And one thing we are looking forward to is if price continue to find selling pressure below the structure, respecting that bearish trend line, we want to be joining a decline to the downside. And a matter of fact, price moved to the downside actually during the early hours of the New York session. We saw price move over 100 pips in profit before we started seeing buy pressure coming in from this point. So for those who are taking advantage of the sell opportunity, well done. I hope you moved your stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit before the bullish momentum come in. So the worst case scenario you might be on the sell position yesterday was for price to have taken you out at break even. Now we saw the breakout of that level happen during the I think the mid session of the New York session yesterday. We saw how the breakout of that structure happened, breakout of both the trend line and the key level at 11,050. Remember, this level was supposed to be our yardstick for trading activity yesterday. So we saw the breakout retest of that structure, and in a matter of fact, price action gave us an opportunity to join this bullish momentum. We had multiple rejection of the 11,050 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 good hours. And if you had missed the first time, you had a second opportunity, the third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth time before joining that bullish momentum. So if you had actually taken advantage of this bullish momentum during the New York session yesterday, kudos to you, as you will currently be running with about 70 pips thereabout in profit at this particular point in time. So since the beginning of the week, we have been profitable on the US tech. Remember, we took this bearish momentum right below the 11,275. We also had a position below the $11,200 level. And right now, we took sell position here, which really didn't give us much, but we had another buy position running around this area right now. So the next thing we want to be doing is to lock in some profit. So I will be suggesting that somewhere below the $11,000 level, the $11,100 level, below that structure seems most appropriate to be locking some profit at this particular point in time. So with that being said, let's see what our plans for today is going to be like. Before I go into the details, I would like to clean this chart so that we can have a clean chart without any obstruction on our view. Okay, so here we are right now. So we can see now since yesterday price has been trading above the 11,050, which is a sign that there is some strength of bullish potential in this market right now. But one thing I would like you to understand at this point is the fact that we have been on a long-term bearish momentum. Remember, since last week, since the beginning of this month, we have been on a strong bearish momentum, and we should be taking this bullish move we've been witnessing in the last 24 hours as a sign of a retracement, which we don't know how far it's going to go at this particular point in time. Remember, I told you that for this, if we are going to be joining a buy position above the 11,050, that we should be having our TP target somewhere around the 10,500. I hope you remember that. And I told you that as soon as price gets into the trend line, which also shares a confluence with the $11,200 mark, we want to be moving our stop loss to lock in some profit, as we don't know how participants in this market will be relating to the structure. Remember, we had this bearish trend line since the beginning of this week. Figured out after connecting the series of lower highs here. So the trend line is still there and price is still trading below that trend line. So there is a tendency that sellers could still come in from this point. So if price gets into the 11,200, a level which also shares a confluence with that bearish trend line, and we start seeing selling pressure around this area, it could incite another wave of bearish momentum. So that is one thing we also want to be taking into consideration here. And then the other scenario we might be looking forward to is if price breaks out of that $11,200 mark, a level which also shares a confluence with that trend line, then a retest of that structure will likely give us an opportunity to add more position to our existing trade, while our take profit target still remains at the $10,500 level. So that is how we want to be trading this. So as we are already in this buy position, let's move our stop loss accordingly, lock in some profit, and let's wait out to see how the market is going to be relating to both the bearish trend line and the $11,200 area in order to make a decision for today. Now, to make things a little bit easy for us during the New York session today, I would like to identify another structure we shall be using to guide our trading activity for today. So when I bring out my line chart here and connect the series of higher lows rather, we can see we have this trend line here, which I will be calling a temporary one in the meantime, considering the fact that we are on the long-term bearish momentum. So let me bring back my candle chart and do some readjustment to this trend line here. So we should be having this trend line to guide our bullish momentum. However, if price breaks down this trend line, then we want to see this as a bearish signal where we want to be thinking of taking advantage of that bearish move. So for those who are already in this trade, move your stop loss, lock in some profit here, and let's wait out to see how participants in this market will be relating to the $11,200 level, which also shares a confluence with this bearish trend line. So this is what we are looking at today. So we are looking at how price is going to relate to the structure. So if we start seeing selling pressure below this level, breakdown of that bullish trend line followed by selling pressure here, then we want to be joining that decline to the downside. However, if a breakout of the $11,200 level happens here, that is breaking out of all this trend line as well, then this bullish trend line here might likely continue to guide bullish momentum for this week. So we want to be seeing buy pressure above this structure in order to join the trend continuation to the upside. So these are my views here on the US tech. I hope we've screenshot my screen, munch my screen, whichever case it may be, so that you can use it as a reference point when you are about to make your personal decision on this pair during the New York session today. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comment section, and let's see how I can be of help in that regard. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the chats and see if there are any questions. before we move on to the next pair. All right. Okay, so in the absence of no question, we have no choice than to move on to the next pair. So the next pair we are going to be looking at this morning is the USDJPY. And in fact, I have good news for you guys. We were able to make some profit here on the USDJPY yesterday. I actually shared this on my public platform. Remember, we had this structure here where I told you I missed out on this opportunity after price broke down the 135.750. And one thing I stated here yesterday is that we want to wait out for the structure to evolve into a tradable pattern that we could use to guide our trading activity for yesterday's trading session. Well, we said one of the structures I laid emphasis on here is that we should wait for price action to come back and do a retest of the structure that was broken yesterday in order to incite another wave of bearish momentum if that would be the case here. But instead, I was able to identify a simple setup here on the 15 minutes time frame. Hold on a second, let's zoom down to the 15 minutes time frame here. So I was able to identify the simple setup here after connecting the series of lower highs. So we had the lower highs here. We had the lower highs here. And one thing I did was that, okay, fine, if we have this trend line connected, let's see if the market is going to continue to respect that trend line. Then in addition to that trend line is this beautiful structure here at the 132.750, a level which was at one point in time held by pressure before it was broken to the downside. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakdown of a structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back to do a retest of that structure. And this is exactly what happened during the New York session yesterday. Price action came back to do the retest of the 132.750, followed by multiple selling pressure around this area to further incite another wave of bearish momentum. And in fact, we were right on point to join that decline to the downside as we were able to scoop about from here to here, give us about 200 pips. Then the breakdown retest of the structure at the 132.00 level was another opportunity to add more position, and that gave us about 150 pips in profit. So I hope you are part of this trade. I hope you did, and if you are, well done, well done, well done. So right now we are at a critical point in the market right now as we head into the New York session, where we continue to see selling pressure right below the $132.200 level. So now this is what we had here since the beginning of this morning. We begin to see selling pressure again as price action has come back into the structure that was broken here during the New York session yesterday. Price action has come back into this level, and we've started seeing selling pressure again from that area. And in addition to this is this trend line after connecting the series of higher lows here, which shares a confluence with that 132.200. We saw the breakdown of that trend line, and it was another opportunity to add more position. So I actually added more position to this trade, and since then price has dropped to the downside with about how many pips right now? About 40 pips in profit right now. So for those who have been part of this selling opportunity below the 132.200, well done guys. So what we want to do right now is to lock in some profit. Let's move our stop loss accordingly, lock in some profit, and I think somewhere around the 131.950 seems most appropriate to lock in some profit here. Now, going into the New York session now, in the last couple of hours, we have been witnessing buy pressure around the 131.500. So what we are going to be doing now is to identify that structure. So we have the 131.500 around this level here. Okay, I think 131.600 instead. Okay, so we have the 131.600 here. So for the sake of clarity, let's identify that structure. And if you look at what we have here, you can see that this level also at one point in time has been respected by participants in this market. So look at what happened here during the early hours of today. We saw buy pressure from this level. And the same thing is happening around here. We saw another buy pressure coming in around this area. So there is a likelihood that buyers might likely come in from this level to push price to the upside. So we want to be on standby to catch that move. So before I go into the details here, let's quickly see what our expectations was going to be like. So now that we have the 131.600 level figured out here, breakdown retest of this structure will incite a bearish move. And if price continue to climb to the upside, well, for me at this particular point in time, I will suggest that we wait out for a breakout of the 132.200. Look out for buy pressure above this level to give us that confirmation to join that trend continuation to the upside. But before I analyze on what our expectations are for today, I quickly want to run through the daily time frame. Let's see what we have there, and then we'll come back to our lower time frame to make a final decision for today. So here we are on the daily time frame. Remember at the beginning of the week, we identified the fact that we are on a long-term bullish momentum, a momentum which started this year. And as a result of this, we were able to connect the series of higher lows here to give us that bullish trend line that you can see on your screen right now. However, things got a little bit interesting in the month of August when we identified a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure sitting right on the bullish trend line here to give us a clue that buyers are still very strong in this market. And we saw the breakout of the neckline at the 135 Japanese yen level in the month of August to incite that bullish move to the upside. And in fact, it took price action 3 to 4 months before it came back to do a retest of that trend line. And since price tested that trend line here, that neckline here, during the first week of this month, we have been witnessing a huge consolidation phase between the 138 Japanese yen level and the 135 area to further emphasize the indecision in the market around that point. So with that same scenario, we were actually looking forward to buy momentum here at the beginning of the week, where we said a breakout of the 138 level should be giving us an opportunity to join the rally to the upside. Though we took advantage of some buy opportunity at the beginning of the week, but we were stopped out with some profit. We actually made about 100 pips before this engulfing candle took us out of that position. So as at yesterday, I was saying that we should remain patient here and see if the market is going to be giving us a new structure in the form of a retest of the 135 level before another wave of bearish momentum will continue. Remember, we already have the breakdown of the 135 a couple of days ago to signal a possible bearish momentum. So there is a likelihood that price might come back, do a retest of that structure to incite another wave to the downside. Then another thing we also going to take into consideration here on the daily time frame is the fact that we can see that price did a sharp rejection of the 131 Japanese yen level. You can see what happened here. We saw a sharp rejection of that level, which has a tendency of building bullish momentum in the nearest future. And if we go to as far back as the month of August, we can see that the same level where that reversal pattern evolved was also an area where a bullish momentum started 3 to 4 months ago. So if we look at this pattern, the structure rather, and bring it in here, we can see that we have a new demand zone to look out for buying opportunity. So at this point in time, you would agree with me that we are at a very critical point in this market where we have two options that might likely happen. The first one, a possible bullish momentum could build up here in the form of a reversal pattern to incite a wave of bullish momentum either back into the neckline or in fact back into the 35 Japanese yen level, which also shares a confluence with that bullish trend line. Remember, we had this bullish trend line broken in the month of November. We could have price come back to do a retest of that structure before another wave of bearish momentum could happen. That's a scenario we also want to be looking at here. And then we could be having price break down that demand zone to the downside. We could have a trend continuation pattern from here, breakdown of that demand zone retest of structure to incite another wave of bearish momentum. So these are the scenarios that is likely going to happen around this area. But in order to make a decision here, we want to be scaling back to the lower time frame. Let's see how participant in this market is actually relating to the 131 Japanese yen level in order to make a decision. So what I'm going to be looking forward to on our lower time frame is either a reversal pattern that wants to send a bullish momentum to the upside, or a trend continuation pattern around here that is likely going to be sending another wave of bearish momentum to break out of that demand zone. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to on our lower time frame around this area. So in that regard, let's scale back down to the lower time frame. Let's see what's really happening around this area in order to make a decision for today. So right now we shall be scaling back down to our lower time frame, and let's see what we have here. Okay, so hold on a second. We shall be going back to, let's go to the 30 minutes time frame, because we want to see what is really going on around that area. So we have the 131. Hold on a second. Let me quickly identify that demand zone one more time here. We have the 131 Japanese yen level, that area which we identified that demand zone, remember, on our daily time frame. So we have that demand zone figured out here. So for the sake of clarity, we shall be labeling this demand zone, like giving this a white color. Place it right inside that box. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And then we have this. All right. So now this is exactly what we saw on the daily time frame a couple of seconds ago. So we saw that price has rejected that level. So we started seeing buy pressure come in around the 131 Japanese yen level. And since that retest of structure happened here, we have been witnessing higher lows. So you can see we have a higher low here. Price was unable to break the previous low. We have a higher low. And then we also have another low here at this particular point in time. Price is still yet to break below the previous low at this particular point in time. So what we can decipher from this current structure is that there is a tendency that buy pressure could likely come in from the $131.600 level. So I will be extending this out a little further. So going into the New York session today, thank goodness we have a new structure we shall be using to guide our trading activities for today. So we shall be looking out for buy pressure right above this 131.600, which appears to be happening in the last 2-3 hours from now. As in ago, we have been witnessing buy pressure above the 131.600. But to be on the safer side here, I will be suggesting that we should wait out for price to break out of the $132.200 level. So let me label this. So we should be looking out for buy opportunity at the breakout retest of that structure, the 132.200, to join any trend continuation to the upside here. So, and the reason why I will be waiting for that to happen is simply because I'm not going to buy here, despite the fact that we have been witnessing buy pressure here. I'm not going to buy here. And the reason why I'm not going to buy here is simply because of the sell pressure we have been witnessing here in the last 24 hours. Remember, we have been witnessing selling pressure around that area. So we want to remain patient to see price action take out all the sell position here, gather some liquidity in the form of a breakout retest of the structure. Look out for buy pressure above that level. Then we want to be joining that rally to the upside. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to during the New York session today. So I hope that we be on standby to catch that move when it finally happens. So that is one scenario we are going to be looking forward to at this point. Now, the other thing that could likely happen here is we could have a fake breakdown. That is possible. That is, price breaks down the 131.600. And many people would like to want to join that sell momentum to the downside here. And remember, we still have a demand zone around this area, which has a tendency to hold buy pressure. So we shall be seeing there is a likelihood that price might come back into this structure, that demand zone area. And if we look at the trend line here, which has been holding selling pressure since Tuesday. Remember, we have a bearish trend line here, which was broken here during the early hours of today rather. We might have price come back to do a retest of that structure right in the demand zone here. So we had a breakout of the trend line, and we can see a possible retest of structure could likely come in here, which also falls in the area where we have been witnessing a demand zone. We saw a demand zone around this area in the month of August. So we are going to be if a breakdown of this level happen, well, if you are a scalper, you might want to take advantage of that sell momentum to the downside. But if you are not, I will advise you to remain patient, wait for price to come within this demand zone, and then we look out for buy pressure here. Then we want to be joining the rally to the upside. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to buy. So like I said, now we have one here, opportunity to buy in the demand zone here. Then we also have another opportunity to buy at the breakout retest of the 132.200. Now, to sell the USDJPY, for me right now, and based on this current structure, I will not be thinking of selling anymore because of this huge demand zone we identify at the 131 area stroke the 130.650 level. So I want to see price break down that demand zone, and I'll try to break out of that structure, taking out all the buy positions here to give me a bearish signal, after which I will be looking out for a retest to structure, selling pressure around this area. Then I want to be adding more position to my existing trade. So if this does not happen here, I'm not selling the USDJPY. So I hope I made myself very clear on this USDJPY. So it's a very simple setup. So I had to make myself, I had to do some explanation so that we can be able to take advantage of any of this opportunity when it finally happens. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop your inquiries in the comment section, and let's see how I can be of help in that regard. Okay, Steamroller says Merry Christmas to everyone. All right, Steamroller, Merry Christmas in advance to you too as well. Glad to have you around. All right. Okay, Chmaza, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Ediza, all right. 2260, good morning. Good morning from Malaysia. All right. So, in the absence of no question, let's quickly run through the next pair right now. So the next pair we are going to be looking at for today is going to be the XAUUSD. And the XAUUSD was quite a profitable trade for us yesterday. And this was our expect. Where were we during the live session yesterday? So during the live session, we were around, we were around the 1,808 and the 1,805 level. This is where we were during the live session yesterday. Remember, we took advantage of this buy opportunity at above the 1,795. I told you how I missed the buy opportunity from this area. For those who are taking it from that area, you will be in massive profit right now. Well, for me, I took it around this area yesterday, and currently, if you have been part of this journey above the 1,795, you will currently be running with over 1,700 pips in profit, which is not bad at all for a start, at least the midweek or midweek. So right now, we were around this area yesterday when we were able to identify this channel between the 1,808. And one thing I stated here yesterday is that due to the consolidation phase we saw here, that there is a likelihood that price might break down the channel. That's one scenario. Break down the channel, come to retest the structure at the 1,795 or our golden zone area to incite another wave of bullish momentum. Or we could be seeing a breakout of this channel, retest to incite another wave of bullish momentum. But instead, the former is what happened here. And we saw price break down. probably taking us out of the previous position. If you have your stop loss anywhere around this area, it will have taken you out of that position. And then we started seeing another buy pressure coming in at exactly 50% retracement of this previous impulse leg, which falls within our normal golden zone area. So with the buy pressure coming in around this area during the New York session yesterday, it was a very good opportunity to join that rally to the upside. I actually gave an update on this one on my public platform, and in fact we took up right on this position. And if you are taking it right from this level, you will currently be running with over 1,400 pips in profit. Then another position came in at the breakout of the $1,808 level, breaking out of this channel here. And if you are taking that as well, you will currently be running with over 500 pips in profit. So right now, for those who have been part of this profitable journey since yesterday, well done, guys. Kudos to you. Next thing we want to be doing right now, we don't got to get too carried away with whatever we have here. So we are going to be locking in our profit. Let's move our stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit right now. So for at this point in time, I will be suggesting an area between the $1,811.50 level, right below this previous structure here. Lock in some profit there, and let's see how price action is going to play out during the New York session today. Now, as we head into the New York session today, what is going to be our next line of action? What are we going to be looking out for? Are we going to be joining the trend continuation to the upside, or is there likely going to be a reversal move, a correction move, which might incite a sell-off to in anticipation of another wave of bullish momentum? So we might likely see price come back down before another bullish move happens. So these are the things we want to be looking at for today. But before I go into the details of what our expectations are for today, let's quickly run through the daily time frame. Let's see what's really going on around the daily time frame in order to make a decision for today. So moving into the daily time frame here, what do we have on the XAUUSD? Well, on the daily time frame here, this was the structure I was able to share with you at the beginning of the week, where we saw how the XAUUSD has been on the bearish momentum since the month of March, and we had this bearish trend line as a result of that after connecting the series of lower highs. And however, during the month of November, I think the first week of the month of November, we finally saw the breakout of that trend line to incite a bullish momentum, which also shares a confluence with that very important key level at the 1,680. And as soon as price broke out of that structure, we have been witnessing bullish momentum. But one thing we observed here is that as soon as price got into the $1,800 level, we have been witnessing selling pressure around this area. Now, in addition to the bearish trend line here, the $1,800 level appears to also be a major determinant of price action in this market. Now, this is what I was able to identify here. Look at how that 1,800 has been a deciding price movement since the beginning of the year. So this was between the month of December last year till the month of February. You can see accumulation of buy pressure around this area, which led to the significant breakout of that structure to push price into the $2,070 level. So you can see how that level was actually a major determinant of price action. The same thing happened here in the month of May. We saw another buy pressure come in when price came back into that structure, but the buy pressure here wasn't strong enough. As you can see here, selling pressure came in, took over the market, and led to the final breakdown of that $1,800 level. And since the breakdown of the $1,800 level happened in the month of July, we have been witnessing selling pressure right below that structure to further emphasize the strength of the sellers in the market. So the second half of the year, price action has continued to trade right below that $1,800 level to emphasize the strength of the sellers during the second half of this year. So right now, in the last 4 to 6 weeks now, we have seen price come back into the $1,800 level area, and what we have witnessed here is a huge consolidation phase further emphasizing the indecision in this market. And with the indecision in this market, participants in the market are not sure what um, price is saying right now. So might likely be waiting for a catalyst to bring in liquidity into the market to drive price movement. So that is where we are in the last since the beginning of the month. Now we have been within this area, though we've been taking advantage of some moves right now around this area since the beginning of the month. But the scenario here suggests that if we want to be selling the XAUUSD, we want to be looking out for selling opportunities below the $1,800 level. As you can see in the past, that level has been a strong selling niche for participants in this market. You can see what happened here in the month of July and in the month of August. Now, price has broken out of the $1,800 level based on the structure we had during the New York session yesterday. Now, the question right now is, will the breakout of the $1,800 level hold? Will it hold for bullish momentum since a breakout of that structure happened? Are we going to be seeing price come back to do a retest of the 1,800 to incite another wave of bullish momentum to the upside? Or are we going to be having a breakdown of the 1,800 followed by selling pressure below that structure to incite another wave of bearish momentum, which might likely be a retracement of the previous impulse leg that we saw here to incite another wave of bullish momentum? So these are the structures we are going to be looking out for when we scale down to the lower time frame. So we want to see what is really going on around this area, and that is the area around the 1,815 1,818 area. So we are going to be scaling down to the 1 hour time frame. Let's look out for what is really happening around there in order to make a decision for today. So going back to the 1 hour time frame, what do we have? So we said we have an area around the 1,815, 818 area. And as you can see here, we have been witnessing selling pressure coming in from that level. So since the New York session here, as soon as price tested the 1,821, what did we see here? We have been witnessing selling pressure coming in from that level. I hope for those who took advantage of this opportunity here yesterday, you have moved your stop loss accordingly. I told you to move it right below the $1,811.50 level. Let's lock in some profit there, as we might likely see selling pressure come in from that level. So right now, we have been witnessing selling pressure as soon as price got into the $1,821 area, hereby having a channel between the $1,821 level and the at this point in time, I will be suggesting that we use the 1,814. Okay, 1,814 will be most appropriate here. So I will be doing some relabeling to make things a little bit clearer. So we have the 1,814. So we have a channel already. So let's zoom into the current structure. And this is where our focus is going to be for today. So we have a structure between the 1,814 and the $1,821 level. And whenever we have a flat channel like this, you all know what we are going to be looking forward to. We are going to be looking forward to either a breakout or a breakdown of that channel to give us a confirmation of where price will be going to. So it's either a breakout or a breakdown of that structure to give us a confirmation of where price action might be going to. Now, in addition to the structure here, I want to be identifying this trend line after connecting the series of lower highs. As you can see, since price tested the 1,821, we have been witnessing selling pressure. Price has continued to find lower highs. So I would like to connect the structure so that we can see things more clearly. So that is the structure there. So we have this channel here and the trend line here as a yardstick for trading activity. So let me do some readjustment here based on the current structure. So we have something like this. So this is what we have here to guide our trading activity for today. So now we have been witnessing buy pressure. This is a support level of the channel. So we've been witnessing buy pressure around this area. So what I'll be suggesting us to do here, let's identify this level as a demand zone right now. So I will be calling it a temporary demand zone. temporary demand zone. Place it right inside. Okay. So that's the temporary demand zone we have there. So for us to sell, that is for us to sell the XAUUSD for today, we want to see price action break down that demand zone. We want to see a breakdown, then selling pressure below that structure on our lower time frame. Then we could actually join the decline to the downside. Then we could be having our take profit target fall somewhere around that bullish trend line. Remember, we have the bullish trend line figured out at the beginning of the week. Let me go to the 4 hours time frame here. So this is the 4 hours time frame where we add the structure and see what we have here. So we have this bullish trend line which has been holding by pressure since the month of November. So we might likely have price come back to either retest this 1,795 or this bullish trend line probably incite another wave of bullish momentum. We never can tell, or probably a breakdown retest of the structure to push price to the downside. But we will be making a decision when price gets to that point. But for now, we should be having our take profit target between the 1,795 and the trend line here, which shares a confluence with the 1,790. So that is what we are going to be looking forward to sell the XAUUSD. Now, going back to the 1 hour time frame, the trend line also, the bearish trend line also is going to be a yardstick for us. So if at any point in time price breaks out of this bearish trend line and we start seeing buy pressure above the structure, then I want to be looking out for buying opportunities, adding more position to my existing trade. And if a further breakout of the $1,821 level happens, then a retest of the 1,821 with buy pressure around that area will welcome additional position to our existing trade on the XAUUSD. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to. So like I said, hold on a second. Let me put this arrow down here. So we want to see a breakdown of this demand zone to give us a signal of a bearish momentum. And if a breakout of the trend line happens, buy pressure above that structure, we want to be looking forward to buying, adding more position to our existing trade. And in fact, if a breakout of the $1,821 level happens, we want to be adding another position to our existing trade. So these are the scenarios we shall be looking forward to on the XAUUSD. So I hope you'll be on standby to catch this move when it finally happens. I hope you also have watched my screen, recorded my screen, whatever the case may be, so that you can use it as a reference point whenever you're about to make your decision on this commodity, that is the gold. So I'm already out of time here. I'll just quickly run through the EURUSD. And on the EURUSD, yesterday, in fact, price action has been on a huge consolidation phase in the last 72 hours here on the EURUSD. Now, look at the situation we have here. In fact, it has been a very choppy scenario as price has been caught within the channels 1.06450 since the beginning of the week and the 1.05850 level to emphasize the strength of the indecision in this market at this particular point in time. So we have the resistance point here, 1.06450. That is the resistance point of this channel. And then we have the support level of this channel at the 1.05850 level. So it's a huge choppy scenario that we have here. And in fact, to trade this, it's very, very important that we look out for a breakout or breakdown of this channel to give us a confirmation of where price is actually going on the EURUSD. Well, during the live session yesterday, we were around this area during the live session yesterday. This was where we are during the live session yesterday. And one thing I stated is that we continue to look out for buy pressure above the 1.06100 level, which we actually did. And if you are taking advantage of that buy opportunity, you will still be in this trade. And I hope you didn't have an headache here because price was just moving within this area, going up and down in the last 24 hours, which is a sign that there is still an indecision in this market and participants in the market. This market will not move unless there's some liquidity that comes into this market. And this might likely come in if we have a major macroeconomic event. And remember, we identified a macroeconomic event coming up later on this week, and that was tomorrow, Thursday. We have the GDP for the USD. coming up tomorrow. So this is one thing I think participants in this market we are looking forward to, that will bring liquidity into the market to drive price movement. So for those who are in this market right now, I will just advise you to let's see how price is going to play out here. So if it takes us out of our position, it's okay, no problem. We'll live to trade another day. And if you are not in this trade yet, then I will suggest that you remain patient and wait out for a signal, which might likely come in the form of a significant breakout of the 1.06450 level. Then, and if possible, we look out for buy pressure above the structure in our lower time frame. Then we could actually join the rally to the upside. And if a breakdown of the 1.05850 level happens, taking out all the buy position here, then we could be seeing this as a strong bearish signal, after which selling pressure below the structure should be giving us an opportunity to join that decline to the downside. So on the Euro USD, let's hold on, let's wait out for price action to give us a hint of where it is going as we head into the later part of this week. So these are my scenarios here on the Euro USD. I hope I made myself very clear. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop in the comment section while I run through and do a quick recap of what our expectations are on all the instruments we treated for today. So let's quickly run through what we talked about today. So the first commodity we looked at today is the USOil, and we are on a profitable situation here on the USOil. I have told you move your stop loss accordingly. For those who are taking advantage of this move above the $76 level, well, I told you to move your stop loss to around the $76.40 area. And for those who are taking advantage of this move above the $76.40 area, and they move your stop loss to break even at this point in time, as we wait out for price action to get into the $77.50 level, where we want to be seeing our participants in this market will be relating to that structure. So if price gets into the $77.50 level here, all those who are taking advantage of all this opportunity here, all this opportunity we took advantage, what you want to be doing is to move your stop loss to somewhere around the $76.80 level. Let's wait out to see what happens around the $77.50 area. So if price, so we are looking out for two setups here. If we see selling pressure below the $77.50 level, something like this, we start seeing selling pressure on our lower time frame, breakdown retest of structure, then we want to be joining that decline to the downside. However, if price breaks out of that structure to the upside, then we want to be seeing it as a good signal that buyers are still very strong in this market. And if we start seeing buy pressure on our lower time frame, we want to be joining that bullish momentum to the upside. So we said our take profit target still remains around the $79 area and the $84 area in the meantime. So let's see how price action plays out in the next 24 hours. And obviously, we will be coming back here tomorrow to do a review of how well this has played out for us. Then we went on to talk about the US tech, and on the US tech, we are in a profitable situation here as we were able to take advantage of this counter trend opportunity above the $11,050 level after citing buy pressure right above that structure. And in addition to this, I've told you to move your stop loss accordingly, lock in some profit right below the $11,090 area. Let's secure our position so that we don't get stopped out just in case price moves against us. Now, going into the New York session today, I was able to identify structures that we shall be using to guide our trading activity, and one of the structure is this temporary bullish trend line, which I was able to identify after connecting the series of higher lows here. So this trend line has a tendency of guiding our bullish momentum for this week. So if we have a situation where price breaks out of the $11,200 level, price comes back into the trend line area, which also shares a confluence with the bullish trend line at the $11,200 mark, buy pressure above that structure, we want to be taking advantage of another position on the US tech. Remember, our take profit target still remains around the 10,500, and I've told you that as soon as price tests the $11,200 level here, a level which also shares a confluence with this bearish trend line, we want to be moving our stop loss probably somewhere around the 11,150 just to lock in some profit. Let's see how price action is going to be relating to that structure. So if we start seeing selling pressure around this area, then we want to be seeing this as a sign that sellers are still very strong in this market, and that trend line and 11,200 will continue to hold sell pressure. So we want to get ready to join that decline to the downside as price takes us out of our buy position. So these are my views here on the US tech. Then we went on to talk about the USDJPY, and on the USDJPY, I told you how I took advantage of this bearish opportunity as price gave me over 350 pips move despite missing out on this strong impulsive move yesterday. So we have the simple setup identified here, and that is around the 132.200 and the 131.600. So this is how we are going to be taking advantage of this. First of all, one thing we observe here is that price is at a demand zone here, and price has been unable to break this low as we continue to see higher lows here. Price is unable to break below the 131.600, and we can see that buy pressure continues to evolve around this area. So what we are looking forward to is price to break out of the 132.200, taking out all the sell position here to give us a signal that buyers are stepping in gradually into this market. And if we are lucky enough, we start seeing buy pressure above the 132.200 on our lower time frame, we want to be joining that rally to the upside. However, if at any point in time during the New York session today, price breaks down the 131.600, like I told you, I'm not going to get carried away with the selling position here. A retest of the structure might likely bring price back into the demand zone here. Remember, this is a demand zone. And if you look at the structure here, look at this trend line here that has been holding selling pressure. We saw the breakout of this trend line during the early hours of today. There is a likelihood that price might come back to do a retest of that trend line. As you can see here, it falls within that demand zone to incite another bullish momentum. So if price comes there, I want to be looking out for buy pressure here. Then I join the rally to the upside and continue to add to my position as price breaks out of all the structures we were able to identify here. So for the USD JPY right now, I'm not looking for any selling opportunity unless price breaks down this demand zone here, taking out all the buy position here, getting some liquidity to push price to the downside. And if that happens, selling pressure below the structure should be inciting another wave of bearish momentum. So this is a very simple setup we have here on the USD JPY. So I hope that we be on standby to catch this move when it finally happens. Then we went on to talk about the XAUUSD, which is XAUUSD today. And on the XAUUSD, we have a very simple setup we have here. Remember, we are on the profitable position on the XAUUSD so far for this week. We took advantage of the buy opportunity above the 1,795 level. And I've told you that you should move your stop loss accordingly. And we have our stop loss somewhere around the below the $1,811.50 level here. And going into the New York session today, we also have a very simple setup that we shall be using to guide our trading activity. Price action has been caught within a channel between the $1,821 level here. That is the resistance point of this channel. And then we also have the support level of the channel here at the 1,814. And remember, whenever we have a flat channel like this, we want to be patient enough to wait out for a signal in the form of either a breakout of the channel or a breakdown of this channel to give us a signal of where price action will be heading. So we have a temporary demand zone identified here right below the $1,814 level. And one thing I said here is that if a breakdown of the structure happens, taking us out of our buy position, then selling pressure continues below the structure in our lower time frame, we want to be getting ready to join that decline to the downside. And I told you that we should be having our take profit target sitting somewhere around the 1,795. Or the trend line here, we were able to identify around the 1,790 as we hope that price will come into the structure to incite another wave of bullish momentum. So this move is likely going to be seen as a quick sell-off. Profit-taking activities, those who are taking advantage of this bullish move here will be doing some selling, then taking some profits, and this will be reflected on the chart as a retracement move into our golden zone area before another wave of bullish momentum happens. However, if this bullish momentum here becomes strong enough for the sellers that they couldn't break below the structure, then I was able to identify this bearish trend line we shall be using to guide bullish momentum here. So if price breaks out of this trend line in such a way that we have this situation here, price, hold on a second, what's happening? Okay, we have a breakout, then buy pressure above this trend line area here, then we want to be joining, adding more position to our existing trade. And if a further breakout of the resistance level here at the 1821 level happens, then another buy pressure here should be giving us another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. So it's a very simple setup we have here on the XAUUSD. So I hope we'll be on standby to catch that move when it happens. Then we close the day with the EURUSD, where we have been witnessing a choppy scenario since the beginning of the week, as price action has been caught within a channel of the 1.06450 level. So we have the resistance level of this channel here at the 1.06450, and we have the support level of this channel at the 1.05850 level to emphasize the indecision in this market. So I think it's a catalyst that we are waiting for, a catalyst that will bring liquidity into this market to drive price action. However, for those who are already in the buy position here, I told you that let us wait out and see how price action plays out here. If it takes us out of the position, it's okay. We'll live to trade another day. But if you are not yet in this trade, well, I will be advising you to remain patient enough to wait out for a significant breakout of the 1.06450 level, where we look out for buy pressure above that structure to give us a confirmation that buyers have come to stay in this market. So if we are still in that trade then and a breakout of the 1.06450 happens, then we want to be adding more position to our existing trade. However, if price breaks down the 1.05850, taking out all the buy position here, then we want to be seeing this as a strong bearish signal, after which selling pressure below the structure should be giving us a confirmation that we are good to sell the euro against the USD. So these are my scenarios here on the EURUSD. I hope I was able to simulate all the possible scenarios that is likely going to be happening on all these instruments we talked about today. So my advice is that we remain patient here, wait out for this price action to transition into a very tradable setup for joining that move to either the downside or the upside, whichever the case may be. Remember, we are not getting too excited at the sight of a signal which might come in the form of a huge engulfing candle into whatever direction it is. We immediately sight a signal like this, we want to be scaling down to the lower time frame to look out for structures like a retest of that structure to give us further confirmation that it is good for us to now trigger a position on that trade. So that is my view here on today's live session. I hope we'll be on standby to catch the move when it finally happens. And I look forward to seeing you same time tomorrow, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, as we gather here again as a family to review all the trades we have been monitoring since Monday and get ourselves prepared for the New York session as always. I wish you best of luck during the New York session today, and do have a wonderful and beautiful evening. Bye bye.